Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Black Girl Blueprint to Maternal Health. My name is Catrina Tillman. I am the hostess with the mostest, the curator of this particular panel discussion series. I am with Executive Director at Revive Community Health Center, located downtown Flint, Michigan. I am really excited to launch this series this year with Revive. And I'm really excited to bring great conversations and be able to answer questions as it pertains to maternal health, especially as it pertains to African American women. And so tonight, we are starting off strong, guys. We are starting off talking about vaccinations, shoot your shot to get vaccinated or not. There's been several questions that our Revive Village moms have asked, and we want to make sure that we provide information from those who are in the health space that can accurately answer questions. So look forward to a great conversation. Again, tonight we are talking about shoot your shot to get vaccinated or not. I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to my panelists for introductions, and then we'll get going with the questions. We'll start with you, Shonte.
Hello, I am Shonte Terhune-Smith. I am an IBCLC here in the Genesee County area. I'm also a birth doula, postpartum doula, and a health educator. I partner with Revive. I am a lactation consultant. I do the breastfeeding educational workshops and some of the childbirth educational workshops as well. And I am also the owner of YOLO, You Overcoming Lactation Obstacles. Thank you for having me.
Shonte is the bomb. We love her. We're going to turn it over to Dr. Debra. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Debra Furr-Holden. I'm a brand new grandma. I have a 5-month-old granddaughter, and my daughter used some YOLO services. So thank you for all that great work. Was a lactating mom. I'm the Associate Dean of Public Health Integration, public health professional by training, epidemiologist. Who knew we would be preparing for a day such as this, a pandemic that happens only once every about 100 years. So I'm fit for the fight and trained for the work. I'm an epidemiologist, and really looking forward to the conversation tonight.
Yes, we are excited that you could fit us on your schedule. We know that you are busy, but you have so much input and great knowledge in this space. We wanted to make sure that your voice was represented as well. And we're going to turn it over to Dr. Patrick. Hello, how are you? Go ahead and introduce yourself.
How you doing tonight? I'm so happy to be here to represent the male species. Wonderful. I'm glad to be here. Again, my name is Dr. Patrick Thompson. I am hailing in the city of New Orleans, Louisiana right now. And I am what I like to call the Chief Healing Officer at Whole Kingdom Wellness. It's a concierge medical practice. I am a naturopathic physician, and I focus on chronic illness and general wellness. And also intersections of faith and health, as I'm also an ordained pastor as well. And so I'm excited about this conversation and humbled to be asked to be here.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys for that introduction. Let's just go ahead and get into this conversation. So at Revive Community Health Center, we service expecting mothers in the Flint and Genesee County by way of our program called the Revive Village, which is a free program for moms to participate in to ensure and make sure that they get fully educated pertaining all things pregnancy. Our goal is to help mitigate the maternal and infant mortality rate, specifically in the Flint and Genesee County, and to help moms produce healthy babies. And so we do that by way of our Revive Village program, by way of workshops and making sure that moms are fully educated regarding everything. And so as it pertains to COVID, we know that this is definitely a time that we have never experienced before, that we have never seen before. And I think that this conversation is so important because women, we carry life, right? And when you carry in life, you're um, very intentional of and very focused on what you put within your body, right? Because it's not just you, you're also carrying that child. So I want to just kind of get into some of the questions that we have regarding all things vaccination, but also specific to COVID. All right. So since the beginning of the pandemic, over 127,000 pregnant women in the United States have contracted COVID-19. Of those, over 22,000 were hospitalized, over 500 required intensive care, and 171 of them died due to the severity of their infection. In other words, since 2020, COVID-19 has been a leading cause of maternal mortality in the United States. In your work, what have been some of the most effective strategies for protecting the health of mothers and families to prevent COVID-19 deaths, including among other vaccinations?
Yeah, so in my line of work, I think the most effective strategies so far have been wearing masks and immune support. I'm thinking about, a lot of people, I don't like wearing a mask anymore either, but, the reality is even during seasons, but the wintertime where other viruses such as the flu, have run rampant. I mean, we can see the incidences of those going down, right? Even in the flu season, the flu incidences are going down. And so the mask, I think wearing the mask and, staying, the 6 feet away from people, I think has been a great thing. Also, one of the things that, in my opinion, has really been overlooked is really strengthening your immune system. I mean, I'm a naturopathic physician, and one of the things I believe in is, we believe in is, strengthening the mechanism that your body already has to heal itself. And so one of the, we talk about, this vaccine, creating antibodies, right, to fight this virus. Well, one of the great things you can do to help yourself in this regard is to strengthen your immune system. There are certain vitamins, vitamin C, you got your vitamin A, vitamin D, B6, magnesium, selenium, there's a number of herbs going from garlic to barberry to Oregon grapefruit that can help to strengthen your immune system. And I just think that's one of the biggest things you can do. And unfortunately, what I hear sometimes is people not talking about that. Or actually, I actually had somebody heard somebody say on the news that that's a dangerous thing to strengthen your immune system. And I don't even know what to say to that kind of stuff. But for me, those are, I would say, the two main things I would say women that are pregnant or anyone really can do to protect themselves from COVID.
I would love to just echo the good Reverend Dr. Thompson and say, I agree with that wholeheartedly. We have an overemphasis on particular layers of protection. I'm an epidemiologist by training, and we always talk about the layers of protection. And the vaccine, I do believe, the COVID vaccine is an important, albeit imperfect, layer of protection. But it's just one layer of protection. And that's something that, you can do for yourself personally. You can do for your unborn child. You can do for your body. And I'd be happy to talk about, sort of what we know about the vaccine and risk to mom or fetus versus the virus and risk to mom and fetus. But to answer your question, I think this notion of doing all you can to boost your immune system is an important one. And I echo the sentiments of Dr. Thompson and say, I give people three basic things, and I've added a fourth one now, and y'all might appreciate this. First one is eat the highest nutrient dense diet that you can afford. People don't realize, imagine if you could only own one car your whole life. You got to ride that car through your whole entire life. You would probably only put good gas in it, right? But this is the one body that we got for the whole race called your life. And we will gas it up with junk. So the highest nutrient dense diet that you can afford is like fueling your one vehicle to get you through the whole thing called life to perform optimally. And so I always tell people, highest nutrient dense diet that you can afford. The second thing is you then got to burn, right? You got intake and you got outtake. So I'm like, I tell everybody, move your arms and legs every day for 30 minutes. And it's, you know, I'm in Baltimore right now, but I was in Flint literally a few days ago. It's not good weather to go out right now for a walk. They haven't even shoveled a lot of my sidewalks and all that. So I tell people I mop the floor like nobody's watching. I put on my favorite little hip hop mix. I drop it like it's hot when I get into the corners. I might pick it up like it's cold, but I'm working for 30 minutes to intentionally get my heart rate up and move my arms and legs. And then I practice what we call good sleep hygiene. Sleep is your body's ability to restore itself. So if you're not getting sufficient sleep, you'll find that you'll be burning the candle at both ends and it's like running on empty. Those are my three main points. And the new thing that I've added is you also have to attend to your overall well-being, your social, emotional, spiritual, financial, all of that health. This pandemic has separated us from our loved ones. People aren't hanging out at grandma's house. You know, a lot of people have had disruptions to how we normally spend holidays and how we normally celebrate homegoing services and things like that. That stuff takes a toll on you. So I'm now elevating that and saying those three things are important, but the hidden monster is our social, emotional, spiritual well-being. So you also got to tend to that. Do something good for yourself every day and make sure you're in communication, if not in physical communion, with the people in your life that matter to you.
That's really good. I believe in the nap ministry. I take a nap every day.
I love that.
I do. I don't know if we have four boys, and so even my youngest one, my whole household knows, like, when I shut it down, and I don't mean just like a little sleep, like I get in under the covers. Like I take a nap, a good 30 to 45 minute nap every day. It's just, I don't know. I think I started it after we had our third son, and I was just like, I got to have some more energy to kind of get through the rest of my day. But you both really pointed out something that a friend of mine, we were talking about. I said, I just don't recall a time when us as African Americans was taking all these elderberry, everybody on the sea moss. I mean, we are getting it in, okay? If COVID didn't do nothing else, it educated us to get some vitamins and nutrients in our bodies. And I think that is something that's good that, we can definitely look at in terms of what this virus has caused us to do, because we are definitely up on our vitamin game. Everybody selling sea moss, everybody doing the elderberry, vitamin D, vitamin C, zinc, all of it. So I don't know, I just don't recall that many people speaking of those types of vitamins and things like that. Shonte, were you going to say something?
Yeah, I was just piggyback on most of everything they done said, and the fact definitely the wearing of the mask, because I'm like, even though you are vaccinated, as we see the last few months, you can be vaccinated, boosted, and people still catching COVID. So definitely wearing masks, and like how she was saying, as far as community, and I know for moms to be, especially first-time moms, and even if you're a mom at any point, the whole baby shower, gender reveals, everybody wants to get together. You missing that part that you can't celebrate how you used to, and it's unfortunate. But when I do like childbirth education and postpartum education, I'm really stressing, like, you still need to be safe. Like, it's babies coming back to the hospital who have COVID, newborns, and you have to think, like, they're catching it from somewhere, and you got to think, you trying to let, how we talked about grandma want to try to come to the house, aunties, everybody want to come see the baby. But unfortunately, like, we do have to still remember, like, we still are living in a pandemic and still have to find ways to still feel like a village and a community in the safest way possible to keep everybody safe, because that newborn is unvaccinated and you don't want to have to live through that and be afraid when we could potentially be preventing it from being as safe as possible.
That is so true. So I kind of want to like get to the meat of, and Dr. Debra, you kind of touched on this, specifically as it pertains to expecting mothers and how the vaccine works once an expectant mother decides to get vaccinated. Because for us, you know, our goal here is not to obviously push the vaccination, but it is to make sure that moms that are associated with Revive are thoroughly educated so that they can make an educated decision on what they feel is best for their body. But I think a lot of times we hear about how COVID is affecting the youth and how it's affecting the elderly. And I feel like when it comes to expecting mothers, that conversation just hasn't been in the forefront or really explained to expecting mothers how this vaccination actually works within their body. So can you kind of speak to that a little bit, just in terms of what the vaccination does once we receive it, and then for an expecting mom, how is that translated to the child that she's carrying?
Yeah, great. I want to, you know, I'm a data person, epidemiologist. We basically are real good at counting things. I can count things in ways that will make your head turn. Okay, but we count things. And so I like to start with the what so. There's a myth that COVID doesn't affect children. That's a myth. If you look at the data from January, 1 in 5 cases, known cases, were children. Children are getting affected by COVID. The rate of hospitalization of children for COVID and COVID-related complications is increasing, as well as deaths from COVID-related complications. The number is still small, so I'm not trying to make anybody panic. I'm just saying it's a lie that kids aren't impacted by COVID. And for the parents who've lost their children to COVID or COVID-related illness, I pray for you all nightly. And just the loss. Nobody wants to lose their child, especially to something that, when you look in hindsight, was preventable, with something as simple as a mask or just choosing to stay at home and not go to that large gathering, not go to that big family event indoors or like that, right? So I want to honor the people that have lost their children to COVID, because many have. There's a myth about the COVID vaccine that it will change your DNA or it will harm your baby or it will make you infertile. And I just want to clarify, that's just not true. It's not true, and it's not based in science. In fact, people think that you're getting injected with COVID antibodies when you get the vaccine, or they think you're getting injected with the spike protein. We've all heard the word spike protein. You probably only heard the word spike protein once in biology class in high school, and then you forgot about it. But now we hear it every day in the media. You're getting injected with a little bit of the instructions that tells your body to make the spike protein. Your body makes the spike protein, and then it builds the antibody to that protein. What we know now is the vaccine does not cross the placenta. So if you drink alcohol, that alcohol will not only cross the placenta, it will cross it very quickly. That's how your baby ends up with fetal alcohol syndrome. You're drinking while you're pregnant, and so basically your baby is drinking. If you get the vaccine does not cross the placenta. Your baby will not get the vaccine. The process by which your body uses that is very quick, and then the remnants get whisked away in what's called a cellular cleanup process. Your baby will not get the vaccine. What your baby will get is the antibodies that your body will make to that spike protein. The easier version is your baby will get COVID antibodies, because your antibodies do cross the placenta and they cross the breast barrier and go into your breast milk. So if you have COVID antibodies, your baby will get COVID antibodies through the placenta or through breast milk. Your baby will also get COVID through breast milk and through the placenta. So if you are pregnant or thinking about becoming pregnant, if you get COVID, you will likely give your baby COVID. If you get the vaccine, you won't give your baby the vaccine, but you will give your baby COVID antibodies. And I just think if I was going to give my unborn baby a gift, I would want to give them the gift of COVID antibodies, not the gift of COVID, the disease.
Yeah, that. I love how you explained that, because sometimes I'm gonna be honest, I used to love the news. I don't know, I used to be infatuated with it, but it's just when we hear information on the news, it's all linked. Like, I feel like I should have been a doctor. I need an encyclopedia next to me. Like, it's break it down so that someone who is not in this space can receive and understand the information. The way that you just broke it down, I think that needs to be communicated on a much broader scale, so that expecting mothers can understand that it doesn't cross the placenta. But can you just explain this really quick? What
Sure.
are antibodies? Because I know that we hear that a lot, but a lot of times we may be assuming like maybe antibody is like a fix to the fix. So just kind of break that down so that they can understand, if I'm going to get the COVID vaccination, I'm not giving my child the vaccine, but I am giving them the antibody. So first question is, what are the antibodies, and what's the difference between the antibodies and the actual vaccination?
Wonderful. That's a great question. Okay, great. So the antibodies are what your body produces when it recognizes basically like a foreign invader, something that isn't, sort of naturally occurring or isn't what it would expect. It's your body's defense system. And you have different types of antibodies even that you create. You've got the kind of antibodies that just constantly roam around, these circulating antibodies. You've got specific antibodies. And when you get the COVID vaccine, you will build antibodies to the spike protein. And we keep hearing about the spike proteins. This is called coronavirus. It's coronavirus because it's shaped like a crown. It's round and it's got the little spikes coming off of it. That's the red stuff that you see, and when you see pictures of it, it looks like a beach ball with red, pricks all over it. But if you were to look at it in a microscope in one dimension, it would just look like a circle, right? If you looked at a beach ball looking down, you would just see a circle and you can see the spikes. It looks like a crown, and crown in Spanish is corona. So this is coronavirus. That's why it got that name. And it's a common virus. It's the same virus as the common cold. The common cold is in the family of coronavirus. But each particular, it's like y'all all in the same family, but you got that one crazy cousin that always reliably, consistently gets out of pocket. That's what coronavirus is. It's a family of viruses. And now we've got the cousin, SARS-CoV-2, which is the actual name of the virus that causes the disease COVID-19. Is like the crazy cousin in the family, just acting a fool, running amok like that. So what the vaccine does is it helps you to build an immune response to not the whole virus, just that one piece of it, that spike protein. The spike protein is the key that unlocks your cells. It's the outside of the virus. So it's a big circle. On the inside of the circle is all of the genetic material of the virus, including the mRNA, which is the instructions that it needs to replicate itself, and all of the genetic material of the virus. What's on the outside, the spike protein, is the key to unlock your cell and let the whole virus in. So what we've done is figured out how to just take one piece of the virus, the instructions, the mRNA, and we only use the instructions. It would be like, instead of getting grandmama's whole Thanksgiving dinner recipe, she just gives you the recipe for the macaroni and cheese, which that in the greens is the staple of the meal.
Okay.
Right? If the macaroni and cheese or the greens ain't right, you might not eat, right? You might just say, I'll just wait till I get home. So what the vaccine does is it gives your body the instructions to make just that one piece the key. And what our bodies are trying to do is prevent the virus from unlocking our cells and letting the whole virus in. The virus can't exist for a long period of time on its own, like out in the world. It relies on, our body is basically the photocopier. It needs to make copies of itself, but it can't do that just out in the world. It needs machinery. And human beings, our cells are turning over every day. So it'll just plug into our machinery. The problem is we've got so many different variants now and different strains. The antibodies that we created, which is your body's immune response. So it says, okay, we've built this spike protein that's foreign to us. So we'll build an antibody for it, which is your fight squad, right? It's like your fight squad. And I'm like, if I see Shonte, I'm gonna knock her out. But then imagine if Shonte dyed her hair blonde, put on real dark colored makeup, put on a fat suit, I might not recognize her right away.
Right.
I might not recognize her right away. Even my fighters, my antibodies might be, they're looking out for Shonte, but she's done a lot to trick us. She put on a hat, she dyed her hair, she put on a fat suit, she changed her clothes. It might take a minute to recognize her, but once we recognize her, I'll say, hey, y'all, there's Shonte. And all those antibodies, those fighters, immune response cells that got created will say, let's go get her.
Y'all crew up on her.
We're going to crew up on her.
Right.
But that's what's called a breakthrough infection, because she tricked me and came in looking a little bit different than she normally looks. And so she was able to kind of come into my house, my body, and start doing her thing. But the second I recognized her, I already had my fighters ready and they knew exactly how to knock her out. That's why people who get vaccinated don't get as sick as people who are unvaccinated, because your immune system is already primed for the fight with these antibodies that you create. And you've got a couple different types of antibodies that you create, but you have them. Wow. Same thing happens when you get infected, except by the time your body doesn't even recognize her. You're trying to figure out, who is she? Oh, she fights dirty. Oh, she got keys to everything. Oh, she in our brain. She in our lungs. She in our kidneys. She's everywhere. And your body will ultimately get it together for most people and figure out how to fight her off. But if you're unvaccinated, you have no running start to the fight. And Shonte is just wreaking havoc on you in the meantime.
Wow, that was really good, because you just broke it down in my language. Not that I used to fight, but I understood what you were saying.
Yeah.
I understand it. Yeah, Dr. Pat, jump in. Absolutely.
Yeah. I can just add to that. I mean, I don't have anything, to say. That was a great and creative immunology lesson. I couldn't say it any better. But what I would add, and I think is of concern to people, is that they need to understand that this vaccine is different. Retained virus, which we call attenuated virus, right? Or there's pieces of virus, right, which we know can stand a greater chance of getting you sick, right? And there's also not the chance of it being passed, and we call a medium that sort of preserves that thing, right? And so some people have concerns about, well, what, and they're concerned about the effects of those mediums, say like certain metals, for instance, that for some people would say, hey, this is connected to autism or some other things like that. So what's good about this vaccine is that those sort of worries are not there. If you notice, and this is one of the things that I tell people you should think about with this vaccine, and I'm just going to say this, and this is the issue with the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, right? Because it's more like the older versions. One of the things that you should think about, the fact that the Pfizer and Moderna vaccine have to be refrigerated. It has to be at a certain temperature. And that should let you know that there are not the preservatives in it that you'll see in these other vaccines. And so, so I'm just saying that, to let you know, here's further proof that this vaccine, hey, take this thing. It's not the typical vaccine. It's a different type of vaccine than we've seen. And so there's a higher safety rate with it, with the whole mRNA interaction that has been so greatly described by Dr. Holden. So this is further proof that, hey, this is something that you need to make sure you consider.
Can I add one thing to that I think is important?
Mhm.
The distinction that you make is such a great one, in that the previous vaccines, everything before this,
right,
mRNA vaccine technology is not brand new to science, but it is brand new to the marketplace.
Right.
It had been being tested in the laboratory and in other places for many, many years. People who have egg allergies, like my daughter, who's always had an allergic reaction or got sick with every vaccine she ever got from the time she was an infant. I still got her vaccinated. It wasn't like a vaccine injury where she got sick and had a real harm, but she might spike a fever or this or that. As Dr. Thompson was saying, we used to have to use the actual virus itself and try to give you a non-potent, non-active form of the virus to give your body that running start to building an immune response to it, right? So we try to kill off some of it with chemicals or with heat to make it less dangerous, right? Like he said, an attenuated version of the virus. We cut off certain parts of it with heat or chemicals, but literally we would have to grow it. And again, remember, you need a photocopier, and photocopying at a genetic level only happens in living beings. So we used to use hen eggs and chicken eggs to grow the virus so that we could then kill off certain parts of it with heat or chemicals to prevent you from getting injected with the whole full virus and getting sick. So then what happens, it would actually mingle a little bit with the hen chicken DNA, because we would grow it in a hen or a chicken egg. And then people with egg allergies would have allergic reactions to the vaccines. I'm just thinking, man, people are so worried about the COVID vaccine. Y'all should have been worried about the other vaccines. We don't need or do any of that anymore. Once we mapped the human genome, and I was at Johns Hopkins when that happened, a whole new world of innovation around healthcare, precision medicine, vaccine development emerged, only because this once in a lifetime, once in every 100 years pandemic hit us, did we bring this technology to bear faster than normal. But believe me, this was already coming. It was already in the works, and it's way better than what we were doing before this.
Wow. I appreciate you all just breaking it down on a level that we can digest, and that especially our moms can comprehend and understand. Shonte, I want to come to you just to get an idea, because I know you work closely specifically with moms that are expecting by way of your doula services, as well as being a breast lactation coach. What are you hearing regarding the reservations that some of the moms may have regarding vaccinations, period, and or the COVID vaccine? Are you hearing that they're more open to it, like they want to learn more about it, or is it just it's a no for me? Which one are you? I just want to kind of get a grasp of what you're hearing, since you're working directly with expectant mothers.
First, I want to say to Dr. Deb, I had to go to Epi study group. I was not good at Epi. So that breakdown that you did, I was like, I appreciated it. Epi was not my strong suit. But definitely, I can't even lie. Moms are very hesitant still. And I still feel like it's understandable. But like how we've been saying, if you are going to be hesitant, that's why I stress you still need to take other measures. Don't be out here. I call it face breathing. Don't be out here face breathing in Walmart when you know everybody and their mama at Walmart, and you know you don't have the vaccine, and you know because you're pregnant that your immune system is not as strong as it is. And I have to tell moms that you're pregnant. Your immune system is not it would usually run. So you are at greater risk. So I'm honest, I'll try to provide them with as much evidence-based information as possible. I don't try to sway them either way, but I want to give them as much information to make a sound decision. And you even have your breastfeeding moms who are like, if I do this, because now it's being said that the vaccine is reducing some women's milk supply. So, as a breastfeeding mama, you care about your milk supply. That's one thing you ain't playing about. You don't care about nothing. You could look like crap all day, but if that milk drop, you're going to have a fit on everybody's head. So there's not anything that I can say to back that up. I just really try to go. It's just like if a mom called and she asked me, like, can she take Zoloft or something? I'm going to go look in my little book and see what it says. And to me, that's exactly what I do with the vaccine for moms. Now, it's even moms who, all moms are moving more holistic. Goat milk is something that I've been having a battle lately. Like, can I just do goat milk if I need to supplement until whatever situation passes for my baby? And I'm trying to make sure babies are safe as parents making homemade milk, as parents who don't like to do Hep B after delivery, vitamin K. And then it's like, well, if you have a son and you get them circumcised, I do suggest vitamin K because it's a clotting thing. So it's kind of like, those are things for moms to think about when it comes to vaccination. So I just try to provide as much education as possible to help moms weigh those options as best they can.
That's really good, because a lot of, and that's one of the things that I love about your business with YOLO is that you thoroughly educate the moms. I remember having our first son, and they was just giving them shots, and I'm like, what's that? What's like what are we doing? Like what is that? It's just it's not really explained to us exactly what's taking place. And for one, you out of it because you done pushed out a whole cantaloupe. You know what I'm saying? And so, but to see, we got to take them 4 shots. Okay, what shots? Like, what's the purpose of these shots? And so that's one of the things that Shonte does with us at Revive is by way of her workshops, thoroughly educate the moms on information like that, the different tests and stuff that you get when you're pregnant. I don't know why I'm drinking this juice. Like, okay, diabetes, what? So it's important to have that education. I want to move on to another question, and then we'll kind of roll it up into a final question that I have. So during the height of the pandemic, many pregnant women were barred from in-person prenatal visits due to social distancing policies, right? For some, this led to an interruption of care altogether, including in the postpartum period. Organizations such as ours with Revive, we provide wraparound services to mothers to fill in those gaps in care and access to resources. Can you share strategies for the healthcare system to effectively outreach to families who were or who's been lost in this particular phase as it pertains to COVID and not necessarily having that interaction, and maybe a mom that may be experiencing postpartum? How can the healthcare system do better at meeting meeting families where they are in order to deliver quality care during and beyond this pandemic? So what are some things that the healthcare system or organizations like Revive can do to better serve these moms?
Okay, these are my big things. So that you don't feel overwhelmed when you get at the hospital and you having a breakdown. Like, you need to know what the hospital policy is for your support person, because I hate for it to be your partner and grandma and you got to put one of them out the room. So you need to know ahead of time what that's going to look like. And you don't want grandma looking at you like, how dare you choose him? So pre-game it, know what the policy is, know if both of you can be there and maybe one of you can't be in the room. And then know too that, like, okay, so say if you had your partner, but you wish you had your mama, and no knock to the fellas, Dr. Patrick, but it's something different when it's another woman in the room with you like that. You can have a doula. Your doula does not count as a support person. So you can have one person and your doula is part of the healthcare team. So that's important for you to know, especially during this pandemic, because at first doulas weren't being allowed. Doulas was having to fight back in order to be present for their clients. And then you have moms who are emotionally and mentally not well, because this is a whole shock, because we have rocked the whole birthing experience for families. And you have to think of how it's impacted families of color and who's advocating for them in certain situations. They don't have someone there to at least not advocate for them, but to amplify their voices, or to say, maybe we should ask these questions. Maybe I can educate you on these choices or interventions before these things happen. So I definitely think breastfeeding lacked during the pandemic, because people didn't know enough and were scared to do certain things. It's just overall that how we approach care and how we just basically, I mean, the truth is we just kind of ripped families apart from the beginning, because it wasn't nothing in place. And I get we weren't prepared, but at the same time, you know that this is such a special, intimate moment for families. And I feel like we definitely could have done better with how we approach the situation.
That's real and honest. Who else wanted to jump in? Dr. Thompson? There you
Yeah,
go.
I can jump in. I have an issue muting myself. But yeah, I like to jump in. One of the issues here is that there's a huge shortage of primary care physicians in our country. Huge shortage, and these are the people who would be the ones to follow up on these sort of things. But here's the thing, there are other folks outside of, say, like a primary, like MD, that can help to bridge that gap. And so to me, it comes down to a willingness for the government or whoever can help with this to subsidize those sort of things. Subsidize the use of, say, your naturopathic physicians, subsidize the use of your doula, subsidize the use of midwives and things of that nature who are in the community, and say maybe clinics in the community. Let's set up some things inside of our community centers, inside of our churches, even places that are in the community where people are, and make them a bridge, gap, a bridge on that gap that can meet the needs of people where they are. We've already kind of hinted at, just particularly for those of minorities or BIPOC, as we call it, these days. There's a hesitancy of going to doctors. Even if they do live next door to a hospital, there's a possibility that they may be a little hesitant because of the historical biases and current biases of Black women, particularly in looking at mortality rates and just the treatments that are often given to to women who are not Black or Hispanic, and versus what's given to these women. So I think that there are some other some alternative health professionals. I don't like the term alternative. I just call it traditional. Because I don't think it's last resort. These are people who are poised to really step in and bridge that gap. And I think, if our government, whoever can help with this, our healthcare system, if you will, can help subsidize the cost of this, then it would help tremendously in our communities to help, lower those mortality rates and put that care in the hands of people who may be more trusted. And so we got to be able to, those are my thoughts.
That was great. Dr. Furr-Holden, did you come off mute? Go ahead.
No, I give an amen to, to everything that's been said. And I think, I really appreciate what Shonte is sharing, and also Dr. Thompson, but, Shonte is like talking to these moms and interacting with them every day. You know what I mean? What I have found in my experience is, and again, I do believe the vaccine is safe and effective, will definitely do more good to mom and baby and future baby and unborn baby than harm, all of that. I know that, like, the data support that. I know that, right? But meeting people where they are, having a genuine and authentic care and concern for them, respecting that they're making decisions based on what they know and what they understand as the truth right now, and being able to walk with them as they sort of grapple with all the different messages they're getting, what they get on social media, what they hear on the news, what they hear from even some of our nation's so-called top leaders and health experts. We had the president of the United States telling people to drink bleach. Like, I mean, you know, I actually do understand and have a deep empathy and respect for, you know, people are making the decisions that they're making in a very crowded field of misinformation. You know, so I just encourage people, have some honor and respect and patience and kindness and generosity. Be willing to meet people where they are. And you might have to grapple a little bit and say, I hear you. You think it might change your DNA. That doesn't match the science of the vaccine. And as I understand it, let me tell you why. You know what I mean? Like, that's it. But we need more kindness, because a lot of people who are a no aren't like a no, never, don't ever talk to me about it. They're just like, no, it doesn't make sense to me. What I understand, I don't see the value of it, like that, right? So like, there's still some opening there and some opportunity to have a conversation that not necessarily will change their mind, but at least have them have better information to make the best informed decision for them and their baby. You know, I don't dictate people's uterus or wombs and all of that. I don't want to dictate their health choices, but I do want to make sure that people have good knowledge, because I do believe that knowledge is power. And I do believe it's a birthright to live your life in power.
Yeah, that's what we call a total complete word. Total complete word. No, that was really good. The shares that you guys have done and given, and that's really our goal and our hope with this series that we're doing with Revive, with Black Girls Blueprint to Maternal Health, because there's so many questions out there, and I just feel that a lot of people are talking over people's heads, but yet the information is so important and sometimes life-threatening. And so we got to be able to break this thing down at a level to where those of us like myself who didn't go to school for, you know, understanding vaccines. Now, when you was talking about I was like, oh, y'all remember the mitochondria and the cell wall?
Right.
Some of the stuff you were saying, I'm like, I remember that in science class. See, it's that stuff that you think you'll never use, right? In conversations like this, it definitely brings back to memory. Are there any final thoughts that you guys have regarding vaccinations altogether, and then specifically to COVID vaccines pertaining to expecting mothers? I just want to make sure that I think the breakdown of how the vaccine works within a normal person's body, but then a pregnant mother, and how it crosses over into antibodies and things. So I'm glad that we were able to bring that to this platform and to our audience. But do you guys have any final thoughts regarding vaccinations or just the COVID vaccine?
I was going to say, I read Dr. Deb's article when she was in California, and how she was like, I liked what you said, that you have to use all the tools in a toolbox. Like, you can't just use one. And so that's been like my little, you know, use all your tools. Like, and even if you decide, like, I believe we've all basically said this, like, even if you don't get vaccinated, it's still a whole lot of other tools you can use in order to protect yourself. Like I said, don't be out here just free face breathing and being like it's all good and you playing roulette with your odds of catching it or not. So do the best you can to keep you and your baby and your family safe, period.
He really going to come off mute, so the boy will get the last word. The guy will get the last word. I echo what Shonte said, and I really reinforce that point of the multiple layers of protection and the multiple tools on the tool belt. Again, I'm not trying to shove anything in anybody's arm. I just want to make sure that people are making decisions based on good, solid valid, credible information, not myth, legend, rumor, lies, and all of that stuff and things that are circulating around on social media. And I do maintain, if I was, I'm past that, I'm in grandma stage now, right? But, I looked at my daughter, my firstborn, my baby girl, having a baby. And I thought I wasn't in the position she was in to sort of have to contemplate that decision. But I am very grateful that she chose to give my granddaughter the gift of COVID antibodies. And I'm grateful that she didn't give her the disease of COVID. There are thousands of women across this globe that lost their babies during COVID because their babies contracted COVID while in the womb. Mom gave baby COVID, and for the moms that experience that, my heart goes out to them, but that's a bell you can't unring. There's no way to rewind that and do that over again. The outcome is what it is. And the last thing I would say is COVID is not the only thing that we're managing right now. And I know that a lot of primary and preventive care got shut down at the beginning of the pandemic. I know a lot of people missed a lot of, prenatal visits and well baby visits. And I would just encourage people, don't drop your gaze from the 30,000 foot view of your own life and your own health and well-being. Everything else about your health still matters. Prenatal care matters. Well baby visits matter. Just generally taking care of yourself and your overall well-being, it matters. So it can be a both and. And I agree with Shonte. In the meantime, just wear your mask. No matter where you are on this vaccine conversation, wear your mask. A well-fitted, multiple layer of filtration mask will provide you a great layer of protection. And I tell people, think of it like Swiss cheese. One piece of Swiss cheese has holes in it. But if I stack up 10, 12 pieces of Swiss cheese, eventually I'll build a wall of protection. No one layer is perfect, but when you start stacking them all up, now you got a wall of protection.
You got the best analogies. We didn't heard about the Swiss cheese. We heard about, your crew coming to, get with the virus. But I love it. I love it. I'm definitely able to digest what you're saying. So definitely appreciate it. It's on to you, Dr. Patrick.
I was just going to say, I love your food analogies. They are right on time. Great. But listen, one thing I want to leave with everybody who's watching this, particularly pregnant mothers. I'm just going to tell you, I'm going to go ahead and say it. I think you should get the vaccine. I think you should get it. I think the pros outweigh the cons. Is there any cons? Understand that, there's, as Dr. Holden's already said, people are losing their babies. The progression of this virus is too quick and deadly for us to play around with it. Now, hey, listen, as has already been said, I can't force it in your arm. I'm not going to ever do that. Don't ever want to legislate something like that. But I will say, I think you should get it. I think there's enough evidence here that suggests that pregnant women and children are not negatively affected by this. In fact, I only see mostly pros for this. And, let's help ourselves. Let's help our children, our unborn children. Let's make sure that we can live. Okay, so go ahead and take this. And listen, we're here for any questions you may have about it. Hopefully, this has been something that has given you some information to empower you to make the best decision.
Well, I want to thank each of you for your time first. I'm big on thanking people for their time because time is definitely precious, especially in today's atmosphere that we're in. But I want to thank each of you for your time and just your knowledge and understanding in this space and being able to convey to our audience and expecting mothers the pros and cons, and being able to explain it at a level where we all can understand and digest the information. And that's our goal. That's our goal at Revive. That's our goal with this series. Black Girls Blueprint to Maternal Health. We will be doing these every month. So I want you guys to definitely continue to tune in. Email us your questions. We'll put all of our information up on the screen, but make sure that you reach out to us. Again, we are located downtown Flint, Michigan. Our program is free. FREE to expecting mothers in the Flint and Genesee County. You are definitely going to get fully a full plethora of workshops and knowledge and understanding the changes that your body is going to go through during pregnancy. And then also things like knowing your rights. Shonte teaches on knowing what your rights are when you go back to work pertaining to breastfeeding. All of this information is very important. And we want to make sure that we position ourselves to be that space that gives you this true raw understanding of all things pregnancy. So again, I want to also thank our partner that is working behind the scenes, a phenomenal organization, Black Millennials for Flint. This whole process is being powered by them. So definitely want to thank them and their partnership, ongoing partnership with Revive. Again, we will be back next month. Make sure that you tune in. If you guys have any follow-up questions, reach out to us. And we'll make sure that we get it to Dr. Patrick, Dr. Furr-Holden, or Shonte. And we're looking forward to connecting with you all. If you're expecting and you want to be a part of our Revive Village, contact us. We would love to have you. Thank you all again for tuning in tonight for our first episode of Black Girls Maternal Health, Black Girls Blueprint to Maternal Health. I'm Catrina Tillman, Executive Director at Revive. Good night.